set, I chose the Community Health Status Indicators from data.gov, which is basically a data set that tracks for every county in the United States various health indicators, as well as what I chose to do my project on death rates among a few different categories of death. So, to see what this data looks like, we can take a look at it in its raw format in R. So you can see for every row in the data set, we have a county with its state and county FIPS codes, which makes it really easy to map to GeoJSON, as well as the county name, state name. And then you can see kind of how poorly formatted the data is here, as well as how it has some data quality issues. So the first thing you can probably notice is all of the -11111s. These all represent either missing or invalid or unavailable data. So there's definitely some issues with just data availability for this data set. And then you can also see the poor formatting and these kind of complex column headers here. You can see this first one. You can decode it as age group A, which means less than 1 year old, racial group WH, which is white, and then the death type, which is death from birth complications. And then for each one of these groups, you get a confidence interval, and then you move into the next group, which this one is age group A, racial group Black, and then the same complications. And then you get each of these for a variety of age groups, for racial groups of white, Black, Hispanic, and other, and then for death types of complications, birth defects, injury, cancer, heart disease, HIV, homicide, and suicide. So to get a view of kind of how I wanted to tackle visualizing this data, we can look at my project sketch. So this first sketch that I did was just to do a kind of a time series with the different types of death to see how the death rates of the different categories change as the age band changes. But I ended up having to kind of scratch this one because the age bands aren't very reliable, and there are certain death types that only appear in one age band. For example, the birth complications. So I replaced this one with a heat map that looks at by race and death type, what are the kind of the most frequent death rates. Then the next one, in my sketch, I was thinking about having a scatter plot that you could, with two drop-down menus, pick two different death types and look at a bunch of different correlations to see which death types are related. But I think I'm ultimately going to go with just a scatter plot matrix so you don't have to kind of guess to see where there are interesting relationships. You can just see all of them at once. And then kind of the most important element of my visualization is this by county map, which I really want to emulate the visualization that we saw in class with crops by county that showed the color of the county as the most frequent crop in that county, and then the intensity of that color represented how significantly it was the most represented crop in that county. And this is the one I have actually completed for my prototype, so we'll go into more detail on that right now. So this is my prototype. As you can see, it's a fully complete by county map of the United States. Each color represents what I have expressed here as the most overrepresented type of death by county. And that's because if you were to just go with the most frequent type of death by county, it would pretty much be heart disease or cancer in every county. And I didn't think that was very interesting. So instead, I looked for the type of death that was of the biggest kind of statistical aberration in that county. So kind of just looking at this right off the bat, you can't see a whole lot. I mean, it's a lot of green and orange, which is your cancer and heart disease, but there's some other trends going on in here. We'll dig into those in a little bit. You can see some basic interactivities. You have a nice tooltip that gives the county name, population, and the death type in that county. If you click on a county, it'll zoom into that region and give you a better look, which is really useful because some of the counties are really small and hard to see on this full scale. For example, San Francisco, you pretty much can't see it all until you zoom in here, and you can see it's this small dark red county for homicide. Let's zoom back out. Now, I think the most interesting part of the visualization is what I've been able to do with the legend, which is when you hover over different elements of the legend, it'll just highlight counties with that death type. And then additionally, if you click on one of these legend items, it'll darken everything so you can see every county, even the really faint ones, to see which category they're affiliated with. Some of the more interesting relationships are the homicide-suicide, where you can see that suicides happened in the cold northern states, homicides in the southern warmer states. Cancer, it's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of clustered in the Midwest. HIV, really located in the South and on the Atlantic Ocean. And then heart disease, really located in the Great Plains and in the South, where diets are a little bit worse. Thank you.